We don't go in with these particular animals, although at the zoo in Pittsburgh we have 7 other elephants that are worked with, where the trainer or the keeper goes in with them. They walk them around the zoo. These animals have just been determined not to be able to do that safely with, so we don't do that. Eventually, when we build the cow-calf barn, which will be out in this field somewhere, it will be housed with, or it will house mostly animals that we can go in with and work.
The area they have to walk around? Or
yeah, this is the extent that these animals currently have to walk around. We get that question a lot. I've even asked the question. Interestingly enough, animals are just like humans in a lot of ways. They're lazy. That doesn't mean it's good for them, but if you gave them 100 acres or 50 acres here, most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time they'd be right next to the barn because that's where they're fed. And if you do that with your horses or your cows, you see the same kind of behavior quite often. We do hope in the future that we have animals that we can walk, like they walk the animals, the elephants in Pittsburgh. They walk them around the paths and give them exercise. We envision that happening here at some point. Another thing that we can do is we can take the electric...
Spend the night in the barn? They spend the night in the barn?
Yeah, most often they do spend the night in the barn. You'll notice...
Is there a place of water for them to swim or have
There
mud?
currently is not a pond in there where they can swim, but they do have a mud hole that they've dug. And when we build the next barn, we're hoping that we build a pond that goes along with that. And unfortunately for us, they were proven to be non-breedable. We had some scientists do some analysis on them. One has a kidney problem that would interfere, and the other one is just slightly older than we'd like her to be in captivity. We don't like to breed them after they're maybe 25 or 26. So some people say, well, why did you bring them here? And the answer to that is they're from Philadelphia, and the Philadelphia Zoo gave us $500,000 to help build the barn. So they were coming one way or the other. We're not sure what Philadelphia is going to leave them here, if they're going to move them in the future, but they'll probably eventually move to the cow-calf barn and be housed there. Anybody have any questions?
I'm just wondering the water requirements for elephants. Drinking water, and do they have free access to water, both outside and here?
We monitor the water that they get to make sure that they have enough, and we have watering inside. There isn't artificial water, if you will, outside, but they dig holes and they tap into the natural water. They've dug mud holes, and so they do have access to it.
How much time would you guess they spend inside versus outside?
When the weather's nice, from say late March until December, they're outside more than they are inside. Once it gets cold, from mid-December through first part of March, late March, I'm guessing they're inside. In fact, this last winter they were inside for over 2 months.
Just straight?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We couldn't risk them going out and slipping on the ice. We had so much ice, it was a problem. Winter they were inside for over 2 months.
Just straight?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We couldn't risk them going.
Do they have objects like to kick around, like barrels and balls and
They don't, and I asked our elephant manager about that. They do have like tree trunks and things that they give them, large pieces. We cut sugar maple, anywhere from twigs to maybe 8-9 inches in diameter. They're fed that. It's a browse, we call it. They eat that. They play with it. The older ones won't play with the balls. It's not something they do. When they're younger, they will.
No.
Yeah. Our goal here is to have enough elephants and enough of a social structure, different aged elephants that are in a family group, so that you wouldn't need the balls and things. But yeah, well, I have asked that question, and that's why they don't use them here, because these elephants are older and they just don't pay much attention to them.